What if we were looking at sales all wrong? What if we were looking at it as the script, the magic words, the magic process, instead of how we do the magic words and the magic process? What if we had a better analogy? I think we look at sales as a quiz show. Do we know it? Did we do it? Do we have the answer and the right answer? Instead of it being a talent show. Now, a talent show, you perform an act, a joke, a sequence of jokes, a song, a performance of some kind, a dance, whatever it is. But isn't sales much closer to a talent show? It's how we do it, not just if we know how to do it. That distinction may seem subtle, but isn't it really the difference between the A and the B player? I guess, because when I talk to salespeople, they ask, what would you do? No one ever asks, how would you do it? And then when you give an answer or options, you could do this or do that, I always hear the same thing. I did that, or I tried that. And couldn't the difference between success and failure be how you did it? That's what we're going to be talking about today as far as cold calling. I've got somebody who's been doing it for a long time and has become so good at it, he does it as a profession. Not only getting into accounts as kind of a contract salesperson, but teaching people how to do it. And the subtleness of it is that it's not the words. It's the pauses. It's the tonality. It's the timing. It's that connection that he's able to get with the other person. Now, this is something that we've been missing. We try and write the perfect script, have the well-researched insight, the personalization. All good. All good. None of it's bad. But then we have to execute it. Like the analogy I use about cooking or comedy, it is in the performance. And if we now make this leap and understanding that it's the performance and not just the knowledge, that means we have to do something different. We have to perform. We have to practice. We have to think through. We have to own it instead of saying, I did it. I know it. That is a keen distinction. And if you look around at the people who are good at sales, and we tend to diminish them, saying, oh, they're lucky, they got the right territory, right timing, all of which may be true, but maybe they just performed better. Not just more, but better and different. Maybe they were more authentic. They had the ability to connect with the other person. They had the ability to understand and listen to the other person. These distinctions are not minor. They might be the key, because after 5 or 10 years of selling, you probably know what to do. You probably are pretty good at it. But if you want to take it to the next level, you have to look at it. You have to understand that you're a performer, that every day you get almost zero credit for what you know until you show how to do it. We are the athletes of the business world. And until we own that, we might not become very good at it. Of course, we got to understand how companies buy, and no one teaches it. We got to understand what could happen and anticipate it. We have to think outside of the moment and think into the future, work backwards from what we want to where we are, and have a plan to get there. Oh, man, Brian, can't you just tell us the secrets? Well, maybe this is it. But it's not the knowing the secret. It's applying it and practicing it and reviewing it and asking for feedback about it. Oh, God. Sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? Yeah. It's called sales. Here we go. Let's get into the interview. And one of the performances that we do is video email. It is a great way to connect. Today we're going to be talking about the phone, but the phone is really just a metaphor for how to connect and engage with another person, how not to pressure and pitch. And this is one of the episodes you may want to also watch on YouTube so that you can see the visual elements of it. Because since I've been recording on Zoom in both video and audio, a lot is put into the video and you get a better impression of it. So go to Maverick Method on YouTube to check that out. Check out Co-Video as a way of connecting with people faster. It is a game changer to get into new accounts. Also, Pipedrive. Pipedrive's cooking it. Have you seen their content? The product is evolving. Their content's great. Pipedrive.com. Try it for 60 days for free with the Brutal Truth coupon code, all one word, Brutal Truth. And let's sum it up at the end. I'll give everybody an update on the course and how you can maximize the rest of the year and not let it go to the competition. How to build up your performance skills based off of your knowledge and deep understanding of how companies buy. Here we go. Hey, Denis, thanks for joining us today as a way of getting started. Give us a little background on yourself.
Well, I have a consulting business where I help people prospect and improve their prospecting skills. And because prospecting is a core competency necessary to succeed in B2B sales, obviously, as you know. And so I've been doing this for the last maybe 15, 20 years. And I help them, and I do it as well, execute, or I teach people to execute.
Yeah. And what's your main focus? What type of companies are your clients?
B2B, which are scalable. They have revenue. They have some sales process. They have some web presence. They have an idea of who their persona, their targets, but they need to, sharpen it up, improve it, scale it up a bit, and improve their approach, especially on the prospecting side, because you can't rely, as you know so well, on the traditional ways of seeing sales. Yeah. B2B, C-suite. That's the core and the sweet spot.
Any particular industry?
Mostly tech.
Yeah.
Just because of my experience in the last 12 or 15 years. But I've done aviation. I've actually, funny story, I've prospected all over the world for a company in software. And I had conferences with Russia, Saudi Arabia, Africa, South America. It was quite an interesting journey for about a year, and I successfully opened the doors. Obviously, every client I have their particular services. I can't know them perfectly in terms of their services, but I can conceive the messaging and the rapport and the insights and the important information to at least initiate. Yep. And that's where a lot of people are weak, obviously.
And when you say initiate, what's your approach?
Well, it's a connection. And like I said, when we had a chat previously, there's kind of a trough, a 10-second opportunity where if you successfully, and obviously we're talking about using the phone, Brian, because the others aid and help, but the phone is really core, or face-to-face. Obviously, we know that from our experiences. The idea is to be able to have them respond and be captivated by your approach. So if you try like everybody else, well, you'll have the results of everybody else. So you have to slow down, you have to be calm, and there's a few other little components. And the way I have practiced it over 15 years myself to see it works, and it has. So there's a softer approach. And when you approach executives, they're probably onto something. If they answer, you have to be able to grab them in a calm and professional and a comforting way, but intelligently conversational. So it's got to be mature, but yet you can show that you're also relaxed, that you're not about to prospect them, but you want a conversation. You thought about them. You thought of them based on what the pervasive issue is that you bring up. Obviously, you got to do your research very well previous to the call, and then you get into a little conversation, and then they will lead you. They will usually. It's been proven they'll give you between 4 and 5 minutes if you've approached them properly.
And how do you approach them properly? I get, do you start with your clients through a mindset of how they view the cold call?
Can you explain what you mean by the question?
The mindset being, instead of it being like, oh, I'm interrupting somebody or I'm hounding or pestering somebody, that I'm there to help.
Right.
And
Well, when they take the call, I'll say, Mr. Burns, and they'll say, yeah. And I say, oh, Mr. Burns, and I take the pause. I deliberately take another pause, but they go, oh, yeah, because maybe they're looking at their computer, maybe they're reading a document, and they take the call, right? And they go, yeah, yeah. And it's, oh, hi, Mr. Burns, Denis Champagne on behalf of Lotus. How have you been? Very calm. And they go, oh, okay, this is not a threatening call. This is not, and it's vibrational. The voice is a vibe, and so it's really you that you need to have a mindset of,
yeah,
I'm reaching out to have a conversation with someone,
right.
and connect very, very softly.
As opposed to trying to sell them something.
Yeah, well, we've all heard all these acronyms of commission breath and the vibes of.
That doesn't work, right?
Doesn't work, and it's never worked actually. Obviously, when you're in the 80s or 90s and you only have a phone accessible to you for communication with the outside world, everybody's going to use it. But now the plethora of ways of avoiding you. So you got to be wise. You got to be compassionate and understand their position. And if you have a solution, they want to hear your solution. Maybe you can help them. And C-level suite are accountable. They're accountable to a president or CEO or a committee or a board of directors. So if you have something they want, just calm down and say, I'm in the long run. I give a conference where the opening screen of my conference, and I do it at the MBA program here at McGill, and I say, make a sale or build a career, your choice.
Right. And I think too many people are trying to get to the end result and they think it's magic words.
Yes.
Where they're reading off of a script or they took a course. And what I like about what you said was it's how you do it. It's not the words. Well, you have the words, but they're not complicated words. It's the person's name.
You're an example, Brian, if I may say so. Your voice is very calming. It's actually very powerful. I understand why you're in this business, because you have a great voice and it has a lot of robustness to it. And I'm using a platform called myvoicevibes.com. It's an AI application in the US. And the lady who's the president, a wonderful lady, Deborah Cancro, I'll give a shout out for her. I'm allowed to use it for coaching my people, and they use it in communication programs in the US. And my mission is to bring it into my model of attitude, voice, and verbs. And Zig Ziglar, 40 years ago, curiously enough, said, the voice is one of the most neglected areas of sales. The second one is use of your time. And it always stayed with me 40 years ago when I used to put my cassette in my car, going to my office. Yeah, the voice. And so, but I wasn't aware of myself. You got to be self-aware. And as you grow older, I mean, in experience in sales.
Not just geography.
I'm a young guy. You start realizing, how would I be approached? Like, how would I like to be approached? So it's kind of taking awareness of that.
What I like about it is that because most of the people who are passionate about the phone, as far as a cold outreach, they have a style, a personality that isn't easily duplicated.
Yeah.
And they don't, or they're not good at articulating why they're good on the phone.
Right.
But I think what you've explained is it isn't as complicated as it appears.
That's right.
And if you can get over the scary part and just relax and use those pregnant pauses and understand the power of that pause.
Oh, yeah. I'm so happy you mentioned the power, because people's hearts, it's the heart, right? At the beginning, it's relevance and heart, but it's understanding how, they're approached by all kinds of hounds,
Yeah.
And nobody's been taught this. It's not that people are not capable of learning. They've just not been I guess, encultured by their management to say, hey, we need to improve the, how should I say, the coachability of the team, the relevance of it. And imagine if you, Brian, could call every single time you made an outreach, you'd get a connection with a C-suite. How differently would you view your career?
Right. And that the power of being able to do that. And I lucked out early in my career by having a CEO befriended me because I had all the revenue. So at the end of the quarter, he was concerned about his job. So he would fly out and go on calls with me.
Right.
And he was an Air Force Academy grad, Stanford grad. And his whole thing was just confidence.
Well, actually, confidence is one of the key components in the application I use. Three things: confidence, captivating, and authentic are the three qualifications or characteristics that the AI application I focus on with my clients and their staff. And captivating and authentic, especially authentic, because when you're authentic, you can be captivating because everybody else isn't.
Do you find people are trying to be too professional?
No, they're trying to be robotic. They're
Yes.
trying to be machine-like.
Yeah.
And if they just like, I have actually had some people put their feet up on the table, lie back, almost like they're lying down on the bed, and their whole physical posture changed, their voice changes.
Yeah.
Little things like that. You see most of them in a phone room. I had, 30 people working on the phone. They would stand up just to change the dynamics.
Yes.
And then when they sit back, their whole...
And it got me away from that confinement of a desk and that rigidness. But I never really did the casual thing, not casual, but that long, or what I call the FM voice, right? That midnight, or what Chris Voss calls his midnight voice. He's a hostage negotiator. And he would always talk to these very anxious, tight people. And his approach was similar to yours, where he would, hey, how's it going in there?
Yeah. It's very powerful. I mean, because people are not expecting that.
Right.
Maybe in 5 years, 10 years, when enough people will have used my Lotus Pillar, there'll be enough of it, this and the standard, but it's not a bad standard to have.
And then let's say how do you then move on to the next step of the call?
Well, then there's the component now that the person has said, yeah, I'm fine. And how about you? That means they've actually allowed some entrance into their kind of...
So what's the next step? Could we start there again?
Well, once the person has, in the first 10 seconds, 8 or 10 seconds, allowed you to engage.
Yep.
And they ask, and how about you? So they're interested in how you are as well. And that's the goal. Then you can divert. Usually I try not to go right to the jugular of the theme.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy. It was my wedding anniversary yesterday. I had a great time with my wife, very happy. And, we're in a place where we can eat. We have a roof on our heads. I'm very philosophical, obviously, personally. So I use that, and it's kind of a ray of sunshine in a conversation. It's not always about business.
Right.
And people respond favorably because, they say, oh, that's a nice tip, a different twist on a conversation. Well, it shows that you're not just about the job.
Right. And I think also it's rapport building because it's commonality, what we're both going through at the moment.
Exactly.
And it could be contextual about the time of the week, month, the year.
Exactly.
Because vacations, holidays, change of seasons, sporting events.
Absolutely. All of that, that's where you got to be quick on your feet. That's where you have to have some lucidity, some wisdom, some, chameleonic conversational skills, I call them, where you can divert and be ad hoc, just be natural. Just like if you talk to a friend. And then they'll say, listen, then I tell them, I'll be brief, sir. I know you're busy. Thank you for taking a call. The reason is, and then you talk about the pervasive issue. If it's, for instance, I had a client that did automation for paper, removing paper in the finance side.
Yeah.
tables, all that stuff. So I say, listen, we have found that a lot of companies are expending a lot of energy in managing all of these electronic documents and paper and all that stuff, and it's costing them so much money, and there are so many issues. And I bring up a larger, more macro issue. I don't say that's their issue. This is a large issue. Some people get it, some people don't. We thought of you by checking out your company, and obviously I will have information about them, and mostly probably about the person and their company. Beautiful path, and I've seen that you have already business process automated some things. Has this come across your thoughts? Is this something that you've started discussing?
Yeah.
Just curious. And I'm going with a caringly curious thing. Is this something that you guys talk about, or you've never thought of it before? And they go, so it's a conversation about something.
And that's it.
That
word conversation as opposed to pitch.
Pitch, the pitch doesn't even.
Who wants to hear a pitch? A pitch is just a verbal commercial.
Yeah.
Right. And
Brian Burns again.
Right. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Because sales is a conversation. It is, connecting with a stranger.
A relationship over time.
Yeah. And it moves very slow, and you have to understand where they're at. You have to get them focused, get them from unaware to aware to curious about the problem you solve.
Exactly.
The implications of not solving it.
Exactly.
And expand it. Now, what's your close? What's the outcome that you're looking for?
The outcome, I say, well, depending on what they say, if they answer and say, we haven't thought about that, but you do have a point. They may refer me to their COO or CTO, or obviously if I'm talking to the CFO in that particular case with finance or accounting, but if it's operations, they may say, it depends. Obviously, there's so many avenues I can take at that point. The objective is to start a relationship.
Yes.
I'm in no rush, just like I said in my presentation to my MBA students, career or sale.
Right. And what's your likelihood of getting a sale? I think the old school cold calling model is trying to find the needle in the haystack, find somebody who's in market and is interested, and you just happen to call them.
Yeah. No, I will have thought it through. I would have identified the company and their profile. And obviously, you can't go micro into their world unless you know someone in there who can give you some insights on what's going on dynamically with the upper management. And because, some companies, you call them 1 year and the CEO has said no budget for anything this year. And you think it's you. It's not you. It's they made a decision. You just got to say, okay. And they say, keep in touch. So I say, and I always exaggerate because it calms me down. I say, so you want me to call you in 6 months to a year? I don't want that.
Right. Reverse psychology.
Yeah, I go further than what I'm expecting. No. They say, call me back in 3 months.
Yeah.
So I feel happy because I asked for 6, I got 3.
Right.
And I'm calm. They're comfortable with it. I say, no problem, sir. It'll be a pleasure. Listen, have a great time this weekend. Thank you so much for the time. I know you've been busy. And you'll hear from me in 3 months, and then do it.
And we also got to understand that, most of the things that we sell are contextual time-based things.
Right. Exactly.
That, your likelihood of finding them right today and taking them from unaware to interested is probably not going to happen. Even if they have the problem you solve, they have to percolate it. They have to create that curiosity. Right. And, because think of all the things that if somebody started telling you about, that you would become interested in. A summer house, a vacation, some social event. If someone you just hear about, this concert in 3 months, you're not going to go and buy tickets. You're going to talk to somebody. You're going to look at your calendar. You're going to watch them online. And all of a sudden, your interest grows. And I think that's, as salespeople, we're that guide of building that interest.
Well, that's so nice. I like the way you put that, Dave, Brian. You're that guide who builds the interest
Yes.
on a trusting, caring relationship with knowledge, wisdom, and all that stuff that we use in our personal relationship. It's no different with an executive. And then you make them a person that they say, when you call them, they lift up the phone and take your call.
Right. And they don't view you as a salesperson. They view you as somebody, just a peer, somebody who's helping.
Right. That's my point. It's to be a peer.
Yeah.
Through your voice.
Through your voice, not subservient, not pushing, not customer client.
Fun, relaxed.
Right. Yeah.
Like two execs.
Yeah. Like strangers meeting at an event, trying to kill time or trying to chat it up.
Sometimes what you find is when you're not looking for it.
Right.
So approach it that way.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, this has been a great conversation. For the people who dig this and want to connect with you, where should they go?
Well, they go to lotuscomm.com, LOTUSCOMM.com, for lotuscommunication.com. And my email is Denis, DENIS, @lotuscomm.com. And check it out. We're all about sustainable sales growth through the personal transformation and skills development.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that. I think we have to, as salespeople, experiment and get out of the robotic, overly professional, stiff approach that we have as I'm the salesperson, you're the client, talking in industry speak, and connect with the other person. Now, I understand some people like the phone, some people don't like the phone. It has its pluses and minuses. It's diminished a lot due to caller ID, voicemail, and people not picking up. But we all talk on the phone. We all do have phone conversations. And pacing our talking, listening to understand, and I'm going to be doing a big episode on this. I'm done a lot of research on listening and talking with strangers, and I'm going to share that with you shortly. And think about our performance. Maybe rate your performance, not just what you did, but how you did it. Did you ask the right questions? That's a good thing. How well did you ask the right questions? In what order did you ask the right questions? Did you ask them in an interesting way? Can you match their voice and their tonality? Did you lead with energy and excitement? And play with it. Consider other ways of doing it. Now, cold calling it's a highly debated topic in sales. If it works for you, fantastic. If it doesn't, the course Starting the Conversation, Get the Meeting allows you to have this type of effectiveness without cold calling. But you need these skills when you do speak on the phone. Now, a cold call is a very unique type of conversation because they don't know who you are. And you only know a little bit about them, maybe a lot about their company and their industry, but very little about them. How about if you could do this at scale, using both technology and psychology, using human neuroscience to connect with people in a predictable way? That's what that course is all about. And if you'd like to talk to me about it, get on my calendar, go to b2brevenue.com. The other course, certainly everybody should get into because there's only a few months left in the year. Very few. And if you find out that probably 60% of all the revenue that companies will spend is spent in this quarter. Why? Because if they don't spend it this quarter, they get taxed on it. So they want this is probably the most open time of selling, not just for retail and Christmas, but for pretty much the Fortune 500. They do most of their corporate, huge enterprise deals in this quarter. So how about increasing your likelihood of getting it in this quarter? And the other thing is, if you don't get it this quarter and your manager knows about it, you get it added to your quota next year, or they get taken away and you get paid nothing for it and you wasted your time. Closing the complex sale helps you understand how companies buy and how you can have direction, momentum, and control over it. Instead of chasing the deal, you lead the deal. I did a little video on stop following up because most salespeople are service people. They're responding to requests or they're pushing the process, but they don't know what the process is. Your clients have not been taught how to evaluate products and change the company. The company doesn't want people spending money. The company wants to make money. But everything that we sell costs money. So being able to finesse this and understand the process and lead and guide the process versus chasing the process is a dramatic difference. And it's the difference between you making 100% of your quota or 200 or 300% of your quota. Yeah, you can say, oh, I don't have time. You don't have time to make money? Why are you in sales? Oh, it costs money. No, it doesn't. It makes you money. You are the means of production. You first knowing how to sell is one thing. Knowing how companies buy is a very different thing. And having direction, momentum, control over those deals is dramatically different. Now, okay, you can wait another year and try that. Or you can make it happen now before the prices go up. So go to b2brevenue.com, check out the courses. You can pay per month, so the money is not the issue. It's either you're lazy or you're arrogant. It's one of those two things. Are you making $500K? Yes or no? If it's no, do you want to make $500K? If you don't, that's fine. I understand. The world needs the 99%. I want to get you into the 1%. Do you want to be there? How do you like that for the brutal truth? Somebody commented on a post, it's not the kind, soft truth. It's the brutal truth. Why? Because I hate pussyfooting around and focusing on microaggressions and politically correctness. If you want that, there's 700,000 other podcasts. If you're here, you want to be more successful at sales, because guess what happens? There's probably a recession coming for no other reason other than it's been a long time. And whether it comes or not, if it does come, all the B players get washed out. No one hires B players. Everybody wants to hire an A player. And in a recession, it's the only time managers can get them. The B players will have to beg and plead for the job and go through the 9-month cycle of honeymoon, stress, put on a plan, fired. That's not where you want to be. You want to be one of those price law salespeople, the top 1%. Let's get you there. b2brevenue.com. Make sure you're checking out the YouTube channel at Maverick Method on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I post the funny videos every Monday and Wednesday on LinkedIn and YouTube. So check them out. Subscribe. Follow the company page over at LinkedIn, Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling Podcast. There's 2 other podcasts if you can't get enough of the burns. There's Sales Questions, Brutally Honest Answers, where I answer questions in a very tight format under 10 minutes, usually about 6 to 8 minutes. And then there's the B2B Revenue Leadership Show, where I talk about more leadership management, strategy issues from a company standpoint. So if you're interested in that, B2B Revenue Leadership. We'll see you next time.